I just received an email from a student that started, "Dude, I up." For the record, if you are ever trying to email a professor, a better beginning is, "Hello." All right, this comment section convinced me. From now on, whenever a student messages me, not only is "Dude, I fucked up" acceptable, it's preferred. It's going in my syllabus. Where professors are gaslighting you. The modern American university punishes good professors, especially non-tenured ones, and applauds bad professors for being rigorous. If you were unlucky enough to be in a class with a talented adjunct professor who's good at motivating students and wonderful at getting everyone to do really well at grasping the subject, chances are you can turn in A work and walk away with a bad grade. Talk to almost any non-tenured faculty member that's good at what they do, and I guarantee you they will tell you about a time when they were warned for having too many students get A's. And you know who never gets warned? The professor who has half their class failing because they care more about research than teaching. And there's almost nothing you can do to stop the fact that I have not approved a disability accommodation in my classroom for over 5 years. Because I haven't had to. You'd be shocked at how many accommodations are just good teaching practices for all students. And when you add in that many students don't even have the ability or access to get a formal diagnosis so they can get their accommodations, it just becomes a win-win for everybody. So years ago when I started teaching college, I would get something called a disability accommodation request. And every single time I got one, I was like, this is great. This is wonderful. How do I implement this for all my students? One was a request for a student to be able to record my lectures so they could listen to them again later on. And I was like, wow, a lot of students would benefit from that. So now I offer video versions of all of my lectures for students that couldn't make it to class for any reason or who just wanted to hear the concepts over again. Another common one was for time and a half for quizzes or tests. And I was like, well, I don't really care how long it takes any student to do a quiz or a test. I just want to know that they know the information. So I just got rid of time limits entirely. Another one was for me to be more lenient if a student had to miss a deadline. And I was like, I can think of a lot of reasons why a student might miss a deadline. So I just got rid of all penalties for late work. And I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. But then I find all this ed psych research that shows it's just good pedagogy for all students. They're happier. I'm happier. The work is better. It's just great. This is a great question. And here's what I have noticed with my neurodivergent students as a neurodivergent professor. They don't believe me. So I have deadlines and I tell them there's no penalty. It's everywhere. I go over it a bunch of times, but they just don't believe me. And so when it comes down to the deadline and I get a panic email asking for extension and I respond with, yeah, sure. Okay. Just get it to me when you can. And even then I get it like a day or two later because I think they're like, well, he was nice now, but I don't want to push it because he seems nice, but deep down he's probably an ass.
Prove me wrong, but I don't think that there is a single person who looks better with a side part than they do a middle part. Like, please just show me your normal side part. Let me sit with it for a hot second, take it in.
Professor, thanks for letting me make up my work. I've been dropped from all of my other classes. I promise I'm normally a better student. It's just that it's been really hard to think about school since my sister was murdered last month. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I need this distraction to keep myself from lingering in the darkness any longer. So, no.
You've been remote teaching for a year without telling me you've been remote teaching for a year.
Do I wear my comfy sweatpants or my fancy sweatpants today?
Name one thing in your industry or profession that the general public would be shocked to know.
There is a significant percentage of college professors who view teaching as something they do so they can do their actual job. Most have literally zero training in how to be a good teacher, and if they are a good researcher and bringing their university lots of money, they could be the worst educator on the face of the planet and it will have almost zero effect on their standing at the university. So a friend of mine works in a very conservative school district, and they were explicitly told they are not allowed to ask the students anything regarding their gender, but they have a little workaround that does not help with pronouns, but it does help with naming the students correctly. So this first part is not revolutionary, but there's a twist. All right, they give a survey to the students and ask them basic information about themselves, and one of the questions is, what name do you prefer to be called? Twist number one is the example they give where they say, so if your name is Jonathan, but you prefer to go by John or you go by your middle name, let me know so I call you the right name. Twist number two is a warning they put as a joke that says, if your secret identity is Batman, I will call you Batman in this classroom all year long, but please let me know if this is only meant for this space. Technically, you did nothing wrong. You did not bring up gender at all in this silly little survey, and you might end up calling a kid Batman the entire year, but the students who need this will appreciate it.
What's a scam that's become so normalized that we don't even realize it's a scam anymore?
Adjunct professors. Let me explain. Despite having 6 figures in student loan debt, I made more money coaching youth soccer when I was an adjunct than I did teaching college. Despite having nearly the same expectations as full-time professors, they make less money, have 0 job security, no benefits, and yet our entire college and university system would collapse in on itself like a dying star if not for their collective labor. And here's the worst part. They're usually the best teachers at that university.
Bro, I appreciate all the help, man. Good looking out. No, ain't nothing but a thing, man. We got you. All right, peace out.
This creator's great. Go check out his videos. And I wanted to add to this and talk about the racist ways that this is implemented in academia. I teach in Los Angeles and I have a lot of international students and students that speak in AAVE. And before the semester begins, before we've done a single presentation in my class, I am always, every semester, bombarded with emails of them apologizing preemptively for how they speak. But you know who I've never received a preemptive apology from? White people. And it all comes back to the fact that the way we teach communication skills in this country is steeped in white supremacy. And while many professors will know better than to critique the accent of someone who came here from another country, although that is still a thing, they will still openly critique AAVE in front of a classroom, calling it unprofessional. So instead of breaking down the racist framework of our society and explaining why AAVE might be punished, they just double down on it and do it themselves. I love young professors. All the controversial educational stuff I talk about on my channel, they're just like, yeah, that's what you should be doing. So if you are ever planning on taking an online college course, I wanted to give you a little behind the scenes information from a tenured professor so you don't get caught in a lie. We can see if you've watched the lectures, if you've clicked on the readings, and how often you log in. Like we are given access to all of that data. Now, I don't require excuses for anything in my classes. You just ask for it and I give it to you. But I still get a lot of students that will just straight up lie to me about this stuff when I can see that you're lying. Now, in my class, it doesn't matter, but my policies aren't typical. So just be aware. We know, we see all of this stuff. So just be careful with your lies. The most common pushback I get from my classroom policies from other professors is that the real world isn't going to be that compassionate. The real world is going to be harder than that. The majority of my students are Latinx. The majority of my students live in poverty. The majority of my students are first-gen college students. 1 in 4 of my students have been or are currently unhoused. But yeah, having one authority figure in their entire life showing them compassion is going to ruin them. It's going to ruin their lives. They're not going to know that the world's a hard place. They already know. They already know. This is my Rate My Professor page, and as an able-bodied, white-passing, cisgender, mostly straight male professor, I think it's wonderful. You need to read it critically because there was a ton of research out there that shows that student evaluations systematically disadvantage queer professors, professors of color, female professors, disabled professors, etc. And so their quality of instruction might be just as good, if not better than mine, but this is not going to accurately reflect that.